I started a new job in Montreal in a month, and I don't have an apartment. So that's next domino to fall, and in this video I'm going to discuss my thoughts about what I'm looking for in it. It's actually a continuation of yesterday. So if you're back from today, hello. And if I've never seen you before, hi. My name is Duncan Alderdice, and in these series I make short videos in the morning on the walk I have as I talk through the thoughts I'm having as I'm trying to put my life back together. Again, all in one take. Okay, how do we continue off from last time? So last time, what did we discuss? We were kind of more brainstorming, spitballing what we're trying to look at. Kind of got somewhere, still wasn't really for sure, didn't have good criteria at the end of it, but wanted to determine that. So yesterday I spent a good portion of the day doing other things. It's just incredible what Claude can code and what you can do with that. All things related to the channel of making video transcript, but I'm digressing off the main topic of discussion. I did spend a good part of, it would have been like 2 to 3 hours speaking with AI, and it's interesting because it's more just me getting the thoughts out loud and like talking in circles for 15 minutes as I'm trying to figure out what it is that I'm thinking, and then having it kind of consolidate those, but then just kind of sort of coach, and it helps me figure out the things that actually are important. And the first thing that is important is me not talking when there's a car. I see a car, so I'm going to just pause for a second. So I guess the one take illusion is just wrong. Anyways, the conversation I had with it was good to see what actually was important, and what the number one important thing that is the biggest thing to consider, because the rest kind of will follow, would be the specific neighborhood. Now, if you're not native or haven't lived in Montreal, a lot of the words I'm going to say aren't going to make sense, but I'll put them on screen when I say them, or probably more likely in the description, so you can look them up and click if you'd like to see that. So, pretty much the thing I can say is, looking at whatever neighborhood I wanted to choose in, the criteria I had for what included in the apartment, roughly being a 3.5 between 1,500 and 1,900 in rent, that was pet friendly. That's kind of there's more specifics on things, but those non-negotiable type ideas were like, there was more than one option, no matter where you kind of looked. So that's good. But then, so because you can't visit 37,000 different places, you had to pick one. So did some kind of digging to see what would be the most suitable for the place that I'm at. That, like, I mean, I was in Saint-Luc. The next closest would be like a NDG or Notre Dame de Grâce, which is kind of more on the east side of the mountain. It seemed good. It was more, the demographics didn't skew as young. The ones that did kind of skew a bit younger were like Verdun, but Verdun was in France. No. Verdun, the thing I didn't like about it is just that where its location is. It's quite right on the green line. However, it's not, you step outside and then you're in the city. It's like you step outside and you're in a residential place, like a 10-minute metro ride from the city, which is a massive improvement from Côte Saint-Luc, but isn't the thing that I'm looking for in terms of vibe. And I think that was a big breakthrough, like kind of discussing back and forth. It was, funny enough, Gemini was the one that the Gemini AI was the best one to discuss it with, surprisingly. Of the, like, if there's two scenarios of where I live, do I want it to be right where the action is? Like, I step outside and there's like a cafe, like a nightlife spot, like maybe a musical event going on all in my backyard. It's like, I think, yes, at this stage of my life, that is exactly what I'm looking for. The other one was like, okay, well, would you like it to be a bit more quieter, but you're just a 15-minute walk from the action? It was just in my head, I went, yes, I do like that idea, but that's like next phase. Like right now, I was a bit too extreme on the relaxed space now I want to get back to the action, but then can transition into that sort of area later. And so that's kind of what Verdun is like. Then moving west, there's like the Golden Mile Square, which is and like the Quartier Concordia, that's a bit more student ghetto-y, and like there's still tons of options. Maybe something pops up, but it was not the working professional kind of vibe I was thinking. All of those areas that I've mentioned kind of skew more Anglophone, or not necessarily more Anglophone, but like high level Anglophone. Then you have the Shaughnessy Village or Rosedale. I think I might be confusing ones. Those ones seemed far more pricey. And then there's Griffintown, which Griffintown is one of the neighborhoods. Sorry, I just got attacked by a spider or whatever thing. It wasn't a spider though, it was like a silkworm. That'll be funny to see what my face did. Griffintown, okay, before we get to Griffintown, then there's Milton Park, which is kind of more the McGill student ghetto. So that was like it's not purely the student ghetto, but it's like the neighborhood right next to McGill. Then you have Quartier de Spectacle, which is like or Spectacle Quarter. I don't know, spectacular. I mean, the show quarter. I don't know. I don't know what the direct translation would be in French to English of spectacular. Like spectacle, I guess. Spectacle Square. Yeah, I think I just say the word in French in English. Spectacle. Spectacle. There, and then that would be closer to Ville-Marie, and then Ville-Marie East, which is kind of a bit like where Berri-UQAM is to Beaudry, which are just two metro stations. And then beyond that, there's a bunch of different sort of places. And then, of course, you have the Plateau, which is the more traditionally Montreal aesthetic look. Like when people think of Montreal living and what that looks like, that would be Boulevard Saint-Laurent. My pronunciation of French is off, so sorry. And my mouth is dry because it's the morning and I don't know why my mouth gets dry at night. It's only at home, but anyways, kind of walked through all of those sort of things. And then, of course, you have the Griffintown and St. Henry, which is where I'd be working. So the one I ended up going with and kind of deciding and working through of the Plateau seems interesting, and that there seems to be very sociable and like young, skews young. However, it's leaning a bit more French, and like I'd say I'm like still not working on my French, but not as I'm better in my English than I am in French. But I don't want to be somewhere that's fully English. I want the ability to speak and practice my French. Like I'll go to a grocery store leading in French, but it would be nice if there were also people who did both rather than just one. And if it's that one being French. Anyways, so the Plateau also is kind of separate from it. In my head, in my heart, whenever I was looking around, Griffintown seemed interesting. But the problem with it is, well, one, it kind of gets a bad rep, which I agree with, is because it's very gentrified, glass building, not exactly the Montreal aesthetic to the same degree. It's kind of gentrified, and it's like either there's high vacancy rates in it's very new developed, and so it hasn't settled in terms of its character yet, as well as it's on the waterfront of Lachine Canal, which is nice. However, it's like a 10-minute walk to the nearest metro, that being the Orange Line, and it's not as, it feels less convenient. But then also I'm coming from a perspective assuming any walk to a metro is going to feel like the end of the world, when my experience from where I was living was a 25-minute bus ride to the nearest, which is, none of these options have that. But and Griffintown also skewed younger. The Plateau was the youngest, but the average age is like somewhere around like 34 to 36 across all quarters. that I was kind of looking at. It didn't seem that bad of an idea. The one I ended up going to go with, because it kind of was where it fit all the criteria in terms of the place I want to live and the vibe I'm looking for, and where, if you just explore Montreal, I have felt most at home, as well as most central, is the Quartier des Spectacles place, the Spectacle Quarter, because that's like very central. Like it's like kind of, if you're looking at a map, like honestly between the McGill metro station and Place des Arts, or more Place des Arts and Berri-UQAM, that kind of area, because it's very central. You're as close to old Montreal as you are to kind of like the edge of the Plateau, as you are to like the McGill, like the shopping center of St. Catharines, as you are to like deeper on St. Catharines. That I would be exploring more of the city, and like it seems nice. The second option would be Ville-Marie East, which is kind of like wherever Berri-UQAM is, just on the other side of that. So up to the next station, because I guess there's the Metro Saint-Laurent on the Green Line, but Beaudry would be on the other side. Anyways, it just that. In all my kind of looking and analyzing, looking at the demographics, the age breakdown, all of the sort of things that I could find, that's the one that I'm going to ultimately be looking in. And like when I just did a quick search, I found one that had like all of the things that I'm looking for. So that's cool. And it doesn't seem like there's going to be zero options, at least. And there is some flexibility on that. And I like that idea. Like it's like, I think the next spot, especially if I'm trying to rebuild a better life for myself, I want it to be easy to, or as easy as possible, or as frictionless, I think that's the better word, to build a social group and like do activities, like, cause unless of having, like, not having to calculate a 20 to 25 minute commute as part of a decision is nice. And so that's what I've decided. And so that's what today I'm going to book a bunch of tours. I don't think I'm going to talk about this again until Thursday, Friday of this upcoming week. Wednesday we leave. Thursday, Friday we tour. So I'm going to try to do a better job of not just completely doing nothing. I was more focused on the move when I did that, but even me editing the videos, I'm going like, this feels like no effort, and it don't give me the same energy as the other one. So it's like, even something's better than nothing, even if it's small and short, because it's, like the point is to document the process. And if you're not documenting, what the fuck's the point? You're like, this is the antithesis of what you said you were gonna do. How much time is this? Okay, so that's ultimately what we decided to go with. The other things to consider, so it's a 3.5, ideally 600 square feet, but 500 to 600. I don't know how, like that seems like a reasonable thing. Got to be pet friendly because I got 2 cats. We'll have, what do you call it? An in-unit laundry, fucking sick. A balcony, but the balcony doesn't need to be necessarily a really nice one or a nice view. Just so the cats have something to see, to get some outside air. Would like, what do you call it? Balcony view of cats. What are other things? Oh, I'm tired now. 5-minute walk from Metro, but if it's the Quartier des Spectacles, the location thing is going to cover all those sort of things. Like it'd be nice to be like 5 minutes from a grocery store. That way that becomes the default. Hold on, I think I can hear someone. They turned the other way. The Tour de France going on behind me. Is it? Yeah, it is. That's kind of, those are kind of the things. I think that's all. There's probably a couple things that I'm missing, but aren't. Like, I think it's just nailing down that location has helped add a constraint that's necessary. My mouth is gonna die, so I'm gonna try to conserve that and Okay. Appreciate you watching to the end. And I know you know this already, but I'll say it again, is that desire is what drives you forward. The pain you're going through is necessary. That is why you need to believe in yourself, because you're more capable of doing great things than you give yourself credit. Lean in, aim up, and move forward. Yes, you can. Yes, you will.